6.
What has happened? What has transpired here at the First Bank Center here in Denver, Colorado? It wasn't just a big night of fight. It was a big night of memorable moments.
Conor McGregor with us here in Denver, Colorado. Good left hand from Rockhold. Right hand, right back from Mike Perry. Can I get a face-off with Conor McGregor, man?
It's an incredible setup here, incredible matchmaking, incredible storytelling. Oh, you had to come here. All these fighters that step in here are warriors, and I have my respect, and I'm into this game, yeah, we'll be into this, yeah.
And we are live here in the Maverick Center here in Salt Lake City. What a night. It is going to be historic indeed for BKFC's 56.
Whoever's the king of violence right here, this is going to be a great fight. Perry on the top. Right hand from Mike Perry. Double jab. Who's the king of violence? I am!
Combat fighting in its purest form, bare knuckle fighting in the city of angels.
We've got the biggest announcement in the BKFC history we're about to make, so let's make that announcement.
What's up, Knucklemania? The notorious Conor McGregor here. Ladies and gentlemen, the huge announcement that I have for you today. Conor McGregor, myself, and McGregor Sports and Entertainment is now an owner of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. Welcome to the big leagues. David Feldman, baby, we did it.
He's now an owner of BKFC with us, and we're going to take this motherfucking thing all.
A new week starts right here, right now, live on a Monday on the early line on SportsGrid and all across that SportsGrid network. It includes sportsgrid.com/watch, where you can find your favorite destination and consume everything all across the grid. He is Donnie Rightside. I am Ben Stevens. We are here together for the next 3 hours up until 11 a.m. Eastern time to look back on a weekend full of Olympic action. Everything you need to know from a monumental Sunday over in the Paris Summer Games. We had the tennis final, an absolute battle between the new guard, Carlos Alcaraz, and the old veteran that keeps on winning titles, Novak Djokovic. We had a race for the fastest man in the world that was maybe the closest we have seen in Olympic history. Everything you need to know from the 33rd Olympiad over the weekend and to set up the second and final full week of the Summer Games over in France. A full weekend around Major League Baseball with just 2 months left in the regular season. All the marquee matchups and the series that you need to know from the weekend that was. Preseason football is here this week, and Michigan should be receiving a punishment from the NCAA any given day. That's how you start off the opening hour of the opening day of a new week here, DRS on the early line.
Oh, a ton of topics to get to, no doubt about it. Now, granted, if we were looking in 1980s college football, remember SMU, they got the death penalty. Michigan should actually be receiving the death penalty, but as we know now, they're not going to because they make too much money in college football, and they'll probably just get a slap on the wrist. So we'll set that one aside. The other topic that we're going to talk about, Noah Lyles, the fastest man on the planet. What an unbelievable race, with one of the single worst commentary calls I've ever heard in my life, that we waited apparently for 5 minutes to realize who won when the runner himself knew he won and the rest of the stadium. That's something to set aside, but also been talked about full boat this week in preseason football. Can't wait to see that play out. And also Major League Baseball heating up across the diamond. And finally, my Philadelphia Phillies came away with a victory. My goodness. Well, the Phillies were battling the White Sox for me, Ben, as it felt like. But we got a lot to talk about.
The Phils and Zach Wheeler back into the win column on a Sunday to end out the weekend sets around MLB. But we start with an epic, and I mean epic gold medal match in the men's tennis final over in the Olympic Games at Roland Garros. It was Carlos Alcaraz and Novak Djokovic, both looking for their first gold medal. But the 21-year-old Spaniard Alcaraz might have many more opportunities. Could this have been the final one for the 37-year-old Serbian Novak Djokovic in an epic match? 0 breaks of serve. Djokovic wins in 2 sets, straight sets, 7-6, 7-6. It was his 5th Olympic Games for Novak Djokovic and his first gold medal. He was 2-1 pre-match, plus 340 entering the Olympic tournament. His first gold medal to complete the Golden Grand Slam, the most major championships and Grand Slam titles in the history of tennis in the Open era. That's Novak Djokovic with 24, his gold medal to tighten up the entirety of that resume.
Cements pretty much a legacy career at this point, winning at just about every level, in every place, and doing on the grandest stage. Congratulations to Novak Djokovic. I'm sure that one really hit home, getting the gold for the country and the gold for himself to hang in that trophy case.
Extremely emotional was Novak Djokovic after the match came to a close with a gold medal around his neck. The same story for Scottie Scheffler in the final round of the men's golf tournament over in the Paris Olympics. Scottie Scheffler matches a course record at Le Golf National outside of Paris with a final round 62, a back 9 29. That was 6 under. The 62, 9 under for the entirety of Sunday as Scottie rallies down the stretch. 4 consecutive birdies from holes 14 through 17 to come all the way back and win a gold medal in the Olympic Games. Scottie Scheffler atop the medal podium.
The absolute Terminator was back once again. It just proves where sports books are correct, like the FanDuel Sportsbook. Hey, this guy's 8 shots off the lead with two rounds to play. Why is he basically priced as a top 3 favorite? This is why, because he's seemingly the only person that can come back from multiple strokes down on a back 9 in a major event like the Olympics here and take home gold. And he also certainly getting caught up there on the podium. A guy that doesn't show all that much emotion was very emotional getting the gold for his country.
John Rahm, a disastrous back 9, firing a 39. 10 strokes of difference between Rahm, who was in medal contention for most of Sunday, and Scottie Scheffler. A gold medal for Scottie Scheffler. Now the debate will rage on. Who had a better year? Xander Schauffele, Scottie Scheffler? It seems as though Scottie with the gold around his neck might take the mantle. Tommy Fleetwood finishes with a silver medal. Hideki Matsuyama, a bronze. Now to the photo finish in the 100-meter dash on the track in the Paris Olympic Games. Noah Lyles, the American, wins gold. The first time a U.S. sprinter has won gold in the 100-meter final since the year 2004 in the closest race perhaps we have ever seen in the 100-meter dash at the Olympic Games. 5 thousandths of a second decides it for Noah Lyles in front of Kashane Thompson for Jamaica. A gold medal for the American in a very tightly contested race.
Noah Lyles told you this entire Olympics that he was the guy to beat here. It didn't matter if he wasn't winning his heats. He kept telling you, I feel bad for the competitors once I get to the final, and he was absolutely right. And I love the fact that it wasn't a start-to-finish race here that he had. You start out a little bit slow, middle of the race, it looks like you're not even going to get a medal, and by the end of the race, you win gold. That was sensational stuff to watch you play out. And again, the only thing that tainted it was a terrible call, anticlimactic, not to let us know. Because I was watching with my family, and you saw at the end of the race, Lyles holds up his name card, celebration as if he won, and it was just silence for the next 2 minutes. They weren't telling us who actually won the race, even though it looked like he had won the race. But we didn't know if he was just being boisterous self.
Right.
I looked at the time myself. I know I won. I'll just wait for the judges later. No, we should have had a better call than that, but an unbelievable race. It will never get closer than that. That was awesome to watch.
The NBC broadcast here stateside was not good. I recommend you go watch former American Olympic sprinter Michael Johnson and his coverage with the BBC. They handled it correctly. Uncertainty for who won a gold medal, and then a step-by-step 10-meter by 10-meter by 10-meter breakdown of the wild finish. The U.S., by the way, on the final day of swimming in the Olympic Games, claims its gold medal, its 8th of its entire time in the pool. The Americans finished with the most medals in the pool with 28 in total. Plenty more from the Olympic Games later on in this opening hour. Now, a weekend that was in MLB. Make that 20 consecutive L's for the Chicago White Sox. It is the longest losing streak in Major League Baseball since 1988. It is the only time, DRS, in this millennium since 2000, a team has lost 20 or more consecutive games. That's the blemish for Chicago.
Yeah, certainly an embarrassment, no doubt about it. Like, sooner than later, you're supposed to win. Like, when you enter in the season, boy, that team's going to be really bad, Ben. They at least win 60 games on that season. We're going to see one of the ultimate losing seasons in the history of Major League Baseball. It's pretty interesting to watch because it's bad pitcher, followed by bad pitcher, followed by bad hitter, and bad hitter. Good luck on the White Sox the rest of the way here. We're counting history now in the opposite direction.
60 wins or at least 60 games below 500. Chicago now 27-87. The New York Yankees walk it off yesterday in the Bronx, courtesy of DJ LeMahieu, as they knock off the Blue Jays in the finale 4-3.
Yeah, DJ with a big week out here. And by the way, the New York Yankees and the Baltimore Orioles, hold your horses, people. We might be coming down to the final days of the season to see who's going to win the AL East.
That game in the Bronx, one of 7 yesterday in MLB, decided by just a lone run. Michigan set to receive a notice of allegations in the coming days by the NCAA. And new head coach Sharon Moore, one of the 7 Michigan staffers that has been named in a draft that was released to ESPN.
One of the most egregious cheating scandals we've ever seen. Seems like it's probably just going to get swept under the rug. Banishment. You should be banished from college football and the Big Ten for Michigan.
The death penalty no longer there. Jaden Daniels will start Washington's preseason opener on Saturday. More around the Olympic Games next.
Hopefully they learned their lesson. Hey, this ain't the NBA, bro. You don't have 6 fouls, and they will check you on this stuff. And Brooks has a reputation coming into this. You can tell the refs are watching them, and they were on him all the time.
This was 10, 12 years ago. Canada playing Greece with that type of lead that they had. They probably would have mentally crumbled and lost that game to Greece by 3 or 4 points in the final minute of that ball game.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Try and set the stage for what should be a great year of NFL action.
There's a handful of teams that potentially can compete for a Super Bowl championship.
Confusion and uncertainty this year more than some in the past.
This team looks like it's ready to make a move, but we just don't know if it's bad or good this year.
J.J. McCarthy is eventually going to take over, but it's like it's a no-lose situation for them.
I mean, they suck. They were 7-10.
Only on SportsGrid.
That race for the Cy Young, pretty much as equally compelling and intriguing as the race for the wild card spots in the National League.
And also keep in mind, Skenes doesn't pitch the entire season, so his ERA gets affected much, much more if he has a poor outing than, let's just say, Chris Sale or Zach Wheeler that's been there all season long. This would be a fun one to watch it play out, but the big loser last night were the Phillies and Zach Wheeler.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Their coach has a personality that is New York City. Tough, grinding, defensive, no holds barred. We muck this game up and we make you play it our way. And Tibbs has been rewarded. And he should be rewarded for what he's done with the Knicks.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Live right here on this Monday morning on the Early Line on SportsGrid. Looking back on the weekend that was at the Paris Olympic Games. And yesterday, a couple of dramatic finishes with a gold medal at stake. We start in the men's tennis final between Novak Djokovic and Carlos Alcaraz. The final we wanted to see with a gold medal on the line at Roland Garros in Paris. The 37-year-old Serbian, that's Novak Djokovic. The 21-year-old Spaniard, that's Carlos Alcaraz, both battling for their first gold medal. But DRS, it was the 5th Olympiad for Novak Djokovic in his career, in the gold medal, and really strong performances in the Olympic tournament had eluded him. Not yesterday, in a dramatic gold medal match that was only straight sets, but two great ones, 7-6, 7-6. Novak Djokovic wins his first career gold medal to complete the Golden Grand Slam. That's all 4 Grand Slam titles and now a gold medal, becoming the 3rd men's tennis player to ever accomplish that feat alongside Rafael Nadal and Andre Agassi.
Yeah, pretty impressive, too, because you figure a guy of Novak Djokovic's ilk probably would have already had a gold medal at this point. As you said, it wasn't like bad timing, like, oh, this is his last chance because the only time he's ever going to play in the Olympics. But being a 5-time Olympian and finally getting it done, probably that sense of relief, because you do look back, and now it's probably not the time for him when his career is done, by saying, man, if I would have just got that gold medal, hang it in that trophy case, just really cement my career and put that cherry on top, that would have been great. And you saw the emotion come out after the victory when he understood what that meant. And also, so many times that you're playing for yourself individually, yes, during those major tournaments. When you get to the Olympics, you're playing for yourself and your nation and how much that means to you and the nation. That's where you see all that emotion coming out at the end when it finally hits you, when that anthem is going to play, and it's your anthem because why? That's your country and you won it for the country.
ATP Finals, that's the year-end championship in men's tennis. You saw Novak has 7 of those. He is just the 2nd man ever, alongside Andre Agassi, to win all 4 Grand Slams. In ATP Finals, he has 7 of them and a singles gold medal in tennis history. So that was the gold medal match in men's tennis. The men's golf tournament coming to a close yesterday at Le Golf National as well. And Scottie Scheffler stands atop the medal podium for the United States. A final round 62, matching a course record at Le Golf National outside of Paris, where they played the 2018 Ryder Cup. That's 9 under par in one round. DRS on the back 9, he was 6 under par. 4 consecutive birdies to close strong from 14 to 17. In Scottie Scheffler, the pre-tournament favorite, goes home as the post-tournament champion with a gold medal around his neck for the United States.
It's pretty interesting to watch that one play out because it looked like it should have been a wrap here where John Rahm was just going to complete them. Like, you know what? Rahm's back. Live Goff. Here we go. Gold medal for Spain. And that certainly wasn't the case because Scottie Scheffler had a different vision in mind. He was unbelievable when it mattered the most. But are we surprised by this? Absolutely not. As long as Scottie Scheffler misses the cut, he's always in contention on the weekend. Yeah. That was just one of the more impressive shots you were going to see. And it wasn't as if it was like, you know what? Scottie Scheffler just, held out here. It was bad weather. He got lucky. Man, he just took control of that tournament on the back 9, and Rahm gave it up, and Scheffler was there to take it.
John Rahm, a collapse on the back 9 on Sunday for Spain, firing a back 9 39. Again, Scheffler had a back 9 29, 10 shots of difference. Tommy Fleetwood takes home the silver medal for Great Britain, bronze medal for Hideki Matsuyama and Team Japan. Noah Lyles wins the 100-meter sprint in a photo finish. 5 thousandths. That's 0.005. That was the only difference between Noah Lyles and Kashane Thompson for Jamaica. A boisterous individual, Noah Lyles, who likes to talk the talk, backs it up with the walk, or at least the sprint yesterday, to win gold for an American man. In the 100-meter dash for the first time in 2 decades, the American takes home gold in a legitimate photo finish.
Yeah, you saw him come right out of the tunnel when his name was announced, and he was all fired up. I kept saying to myself, man, it's a lot of energy you're spending right now knowing you have the race of your life that's just about to happen. But, boy, he was worked in right, and that was an amazing race because, as I said, if it was just a wire-to-wire victory, would we have been impressed? Absolutely. But the fact that it looks like you weren't even going to medal, and then, 20 meters later, you are the absolute fastest man in the world. And We don't pay attention a lot in America from track and field, but we really get excited for it every 4 years. Around the world, it is a big deal all the time with the World Championships. But for 10 seconds there, that is some of the most amazing stuff you can watch and exciting. And also the way the finish happened, couldn't tell who won. Quite frankly, just looking at the naked eye when it happened, I didn't think he won the gold medal. I was pretty surprised when walking around the track, figuring it was Kashane Thompson at that point, and it wasn't. It was awesome to see. And again, it just wish it would have been more awesome if we got a proper feed from the commentators there, which was one of the worst calls. Like a Super Bowl winning kick that the guy thought went wide left. It's like, hold on, man. Like, be in the moment. At least let it play out. It was a bad one, but certainly can't take away from that moment. Lyles was phenomenal, and now the fastest man in the world once again coming off that world championship.
Difficult for the broadcast team because on the track, it did seem as though it was called for Kashane Thompson.
Yeah.
But if it's that close, let it breathe and then have the answer later. Team USA, its toughest test in women's basketball yesterday to end out group play against Germany. And the U.S. still won by 19, 87-68 over Germany. Team USA finishing strong on a Sunday on the final day of swimming in Olympic pool action. 4x100 medley relay for the women's side. They set a world record. 28 total medals. That was the most. 8 of them gold in the pool. You saw there, Suni Lee, medals, earning a bronze in the uneven bars. But both Lee and Simone Biles in action early on this Monday both fell off the balance beam in that event final, both missing the medal podium.
Yeah, no, look, you can't be fantastic every single time in every single event. But as you see that medal count for the Team USA starting to pile up, fantastic in the water, fantastic there in gymnastics. So far, so good. And track and field, really that bread and butter. Team USA going to be cashing a lot more medals here before this Olympiad is out.
Very, very true. We will give you the medal counter after the first full week over in Paris in a continued look back on the weekend that was at the 33rd Olympiad. Some of the notable things happening on Saturday with one final week to go in the Summer Games. Up next.
Hopefully they learned their lesson. Hey, this ain't the NBA, bro. You don't have 6 fouls, and they will check you on this stuff. And Brooks has a reputation coming into this. You can tell the refs are watching them, and they were on him all the time.
This was 10, 12 years ago. Canada playing Greece with that type of lead that they had. They probably would have mentally crumbled and lost that game to Greece by 3 or 4 points in the final minute of that ball game.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Try and set the stage for what should be a great year of NFL action.
There's a handful of teams that potentially can compete for a Super Bowl championship.
Confusion and uncertainty this year more than some in the past.
This team looks like it's ready to make a move, but we just don't know if it's bad or good this year.
J.J. McCarthy is eventually going to take over, but it's like it's a no-lose situation for them.
I mean, they suck. They were 7-10.
Only on SportsGrid.
That race for the Cy Young, pretty much as equally compelling and intriguing as the race for the wild card spots in the National League.
And also keep in mind, Skenes doesn't pitch the entire season, so his ERA gets affected much, much more if he has a poor outing than, let's just say, Chris Sale or Zach Wheeler that's been there all season long. This would be a fun one to watch it play out, but the big loser last night were the Phillies and Zach Wheeler.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Their coach has a personality that is New York City. Tough, grinding, defensive, no holds barred. We muck this game up and we make you play it our way. And Tibbs has been rewarded. And he should be rewarded for what he's done with the Knicks.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
More Olympic headlines from this past weekend over in Paris. Again, as of this Monday morning, Suni Lee and Simone Biles both missing out on the medal podium in the event final on the balance beam, both falling off the balance beam in their performances. Could this be the final day of Simone Biles' Olympic career? Both will compete on the floor in the final there, looking to get back on the medal stand. But on Saturday, DRS, it was Simone Biles winning gold once again in the women's vault, the most decorated Olympian for gymnastics ever for the United States, adds into her medal repertoire. And that's the same story for Katie Ledecky. She wins the fourth straight gold medal in her career at the 800-meter final in the pool. The most decorated U.S. Olympians we have seen in quite some time, both showing out on Saturday over in Paris.
Like, you work every 4 years to get to this stage, Ben. The reason I bring that up is you figure it's like, hey, you're going to specialize in one event. You're going to run one race and focus on it. I mean, these ladies have been absolutely phenomenal all the way through on a day-to-day basis with that much pressure, which you need to be in your peak performance, and they continually do that left and right. It's pretty fun to watch you play out because once you just figure like, hey, let me just get this one race in. I trained for it. I mean, they're going day to day to day to day to day, semifinals, quarterfinals, finals, and competing on the biggest stage and winning. Shout out to that. That's a lot of pressure that most people can't deal with, and they're doing it on a day-to-day basis. And for the women at gymnastics, you can't win everything, right? So nobody's upset like, oh, I can't believe that happened, because there's probably more gold on the way. Just to get on the podium one time, even if you have 6 events, is amazing, let alone figuring being the favorites every time you step out there. Sooner or later, you can't win every single time, so it's all right.
I mean, event finals are serious, of course. We are not taking away from the significance. But when it comes to the pantheon in gymnastics, it's the team all around. It's the individual all around. The champion, the MVP out there that has always been Simone Biles. Suni Lee, as we shared, earning bronze yesterday in the uneven bars final, her 6th Olympic medal. Late last week, Katie Ledecky earned her 13th career Olympic medal, making her the most decorated United States female Olympian in history. She adds on with yet another gold on Saturday. A slightly disappointing performance out of Sha'Carri Richardson in the 100-meter dash in women's track and field on Saturday evening. She was a minus 190 favorite to take home gold for the United States. She finishes runner-up, earning a silver medal. Julian Alfred wins the first ever Olympic medal, and it is gold for St. Lucia. Some history on Saturday on the track.
No doubt about it. By the way, with Sha'Carri Richardson, here's what I love about the Olympic Games also. Everybody strives for a gold medal. Sha'Carri Richardson came in with a lot of hype coming into this. Wasn't the clear runaway favorite. You knew she would have some challengers, but got the silver medal. Still, though, running around the track with the American flag, huge smile on your face. That's what you love to see, because, yes, they're disappointed in the moment, but then they realize, look, all this hard work paid off. Got the Olympics here, got a lot of promotion through it, and I ended up getting a silver medal. That's awesome to celebrate. So it's not like it's gold or bust. I can't stand to be here. I love to see when the athletes actually still win a medal that's out gold. Like, you know what? That's a huge achievement here. So I don't think anybody's really disappointed at this point, and neither should she be.
DRS, well said. Earning a silver medal, not getting a silver medal, is probably the correct way of categorizing that achievement. Team USA rolling over Puerto Rico in its final game in Group C action to clinch the top seed into the knockout stages of the men's basketball tournament. 21-point victory for the United States over the Puerto Ricans. Team USA on the women's soccer pitch, surviving in extra time, courtesy of Trinity Rodman, scoring in the 106th minute, and Quinn Win Jang wins the gold medal in the women's tournament over in tennis in the Paris Olympic Games. She was 29-1 entering the tournament. So here's where the medal tracker is as of right now. A few more medals earned early on this Monday. The United States up to 72 overall, but China has taken a lead in the gold medal tracker. They have 21. The U.S. still with 19 as of this moment.
Yeah, a lot will play out in track and field this weekend. Maybe does it come down to the final to who's going to win the most gold medals in breakdancing later this week? Still got a long way to go in the Olympics. I know everybody's enjoying it. So here we go.
Donnie, I heard you are fired up about the Olympic
I
final
am.
in breakdancing come Friday. Any early previews you would like to share with the public?
Yes, I believe that SportsGrid Network is negotiating rights where we can do a live side-by-side box with the competition itself with music on here. So I'm hearing good things behind the scenes.
Yes. I hear our management team has great rapport with the IOC. The weekend that was in MLB next.
Hopefully they learned their lesson. Hey, this ain't the NBA, bro. You don't have 6 fouls, and they will check you on this stuff. And Brooks has a reputation coming into this. You can tell the refs are watching them, and they were on him all the time.
This was 10, 12 years ago. Canada playing Greece with that type of lead that they had. They probably would have mentally crumbled and lost that game to Greece by 3 or 4 points in the final minute of that ball game.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Try and set the stage for what should be a great year of NFL action.
There's a handful of teams that potentially can compete for a Super Bowl championship.
Confusion and uncertainty this year more than some in the past.
This team looks like it's ready to make a move, but we just don't know if it's bad or good this year.
J.J. McCarthy is eventually going to take over, but it's like it's a no-lose situation for them.
I mean, they suck. They were 7-10.
Only on SportsGrid.
That race for the Cy Young, pretty much as equally compelling and intriguing as the race for the wild card spots in the National League.
And also keep in mind, Skenes doesn't pitch the entire season, so his ERA gets affected much, much more if he has a poor outing than, let's just say, Chris Sale or Zach Wheeler that's been there all season long. This would be a fun one to watch it play out, but the big loser last night were the Phillies and Zach Wheeler.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Their coach has a personality that is New York City. Tough, grinding, defensive, no holds barred. We muck this game up and we make you play it our way. And Tibbs has been rewarded. And he should be rewarded for what he's done with the Knicks.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
A weekend that was in Major League Baseball. Now here we are, right, with the final 2 months of the regular season in MLB. Last week was deadline day and that trade deadline around Major League Baseball. Your roster has been finalized for this home stretch in a long marathon that is 162 games to position yourself for the postseason. So that means earning a playoff spot, the divisional races around MLB, and of course, maybe atop the postseason bracket in your respective league. That was the case this weekend in Cleveland between the Orioles and the Guardians for that top spot in the American League. Baltimore wins the finale yesterday, 9-5, a slight road money line favorite with Corbin Burns on the bump. So the O's and the Guardians DRS split the 4-game set. Cleveland still a game advantage in the American League standings overall over Baltimore. The O's and the Yankees tied for the top spot in the American League East.
Yeah, Corbin Burns wasn't even particularly good yesterday. 5 innings pitched, 4 earned runs. But when you have a lineup that can back you up with 9 runs and 15 hits on the road against solid competition, that's all you can ask for. And it was a nice closeout to the series, winning the final 2 games for the O's because they need every single win they can get, as it looks like the Yankees certainly rounding back into form. A lot of these competitions here throughout these divisions are getting closer by the day. So it's fun to watch these high-pressure situations. Baltimore needed that. You didn't get a great start out of your ace, didn't matter if the lineup picked them up. That's how you do it.
Total of 7.5 skies over by nearly double yesterday in the land. Adley Rutschman, 3 RBIs to pace Baltimore's offense. But DRS, Jackson Holiday back up with the bigs over the past week. 5 games for Baltimore. Yesterday, a home run and an RBI. He has recorded a ribby in 3 consecutive games for the O's. 2 home runs, 7 RBIs for Jackson Holiday, one of the most promising prospects in all of the bigs. Of course, it was a slower start when he was called up earlier this regular season. Now back in the bigs, he has taken his lumps and he has learned. Now we go to Arlington. The Red Sox and the Rangers battling it out in the rubber match yesterday, and Boston takes it 7-2 to win the series over Texas. They were the underdog ever so slightly yesterday in Arlington, and a big day out of Wheeler Abreu. 2 home runs, 4 RBIs to lead Boston in that 7-2 victory.
Yeah, sometimes you need guys to step up that typically are outside of that, let's just say 2, 3, 4 in the lineup that you expect to dominate. You take a look at Yoshida, 0 for 3 yesterday. Refsnyder, 0 for 5. Devers, 1 for 5, and Wong, 1 for 5. You need somebody to pick you up, and there's Abreu with his 4 RBI day for a 7-2 victory. Good win for the Boston Red Sox. You take a look at the Rangers, who were creeping back up into that AL West race, like maybe we have a chance, but I believe 3-7 over the past 10 games. That'll drop you back quick here. The Red Sox were the better team yesterday. They picked up the victory, and I expect the Red Sox to make the playoffs. The Rangers now, I thought that momentum surge might be able to propel them, which they had about a week and a half ago. Looks like that bottom's falling out just a little bit on them.
Yeah, DRS, entering last weekend where they were swept by the Blue Jays, they had won 5 straight games, 7 of their last 9, propelling themselves back into American League West contention, maybe even an outside shot at the AL wild card. The Rangers from that point have dropped 7 of their last 9. We keep it going around the American League from this previous weekend in MLB. A low-scoring affair yesterday in Houston. Tampa gets a victory, 1-0. The Astros were a -160 home money line favorite. A total of 8.5 stays well under. The Rays won the final 2 games of the series to pick up the set victory. It was Brandon Lau, an RBI double in the 3rd inning. The only offense yesterday in Houston. Tampa gets a win.
Yeah, and how about this? Identical records now between the Tampa Bay Rays and the Houston Astros, both at 57 and 54. You say, why is that big? Well, if it comes down to maybe that final wild card spot, these two teams certainly Tampa's not winning their division. Houston Astros have a legitimate chance to win it, but if they don't, all of these wins are going to count by the end of the season. That's a typical Rays victory, isn't it? And by the way, Spencer Arrighetti, good on him. Not his fault they couldn't win. 6 innings pitched, 5 hits, 1 earned run, 12 strikeouts. And you're telling me that wasn't good enough for a victory? Yeah. Houston Astros just didn't show up at the plate, but that's a Rays. 1-0, that tells you it's Tampa Bay Rays right there.
Houston, a team that also was so promising ahead of the All-Star break and in the few days after. The Astros cooling off. The Mariners had an opportunity for a sweep over the Phils, as we'll show you in just a minute. But the M's did lose yesterday, still 59 and 54. 2 games in the win column in front of the Astros, who are now 57 and 54. So a full game advantage for Seattle atop the American League West. And just to put that into context, DRS, we said this at the All-Star break. The Astros have a much better opportunity of getting to the playoffs by way of winning the division than they do of contending for a wild card spot. They are 5 games out of an AL wild card spot with plenty of teams in front of them. They're only a game behind Seattle for that first place position in the American League West. The Yankees walking it off yesterday against the Toronto Blue Jays at home in the Bronx. 4-3 the victory. They were booked as nearly a $3 favorite with Garrett Cole getting the start. Total of 9.5 stays under, even into extra innings. The Pinstripes winning the final 2 games of the set against Toronto to take the series victory. It was DJ LeMahieu who it was entering this week with a batting average around 175, 180. Had a very good week. The game-winning RBI single to walk it off for New York in that 10th inning.
Yeah, you'd like to see the middle of that lineup produce a little bit more, because when you take a look at from a Yankees perspective on Juan Soto and Aaron Judge, 322 and 310 on the season. But how about this? They combined for 5 walks and 3 hits, but nobody behind them was able to drive them in, and yet they were still able to come away with a victory. That's pretty impressive.
When you look at DJ LeMahieu, DRS, it was his game earlier this week, just tracking down the day, the finale against the Phils on Wednesday, where he was responsible for all 6 runs New York scored in that 6-5 victory in Philadelphia. Then had the next few days off, played on Saturday, nothing, 2 RBIs yesterday, including the game-winning runs. He is still just batting 184 this year. Garrett Cole, 5 2/3 yesterday, 2 earned, given up, just 4 strikeouts, a 5.09 ERA for the ace for New York in the reigning American League Cy Young winner. But the Yankees playing better baseball. They've won 7 of their last 8, including a midweek series sweep in Philadelphia over the Phils. Philly needed one yesterday, Donnie, and they got it. 6-0. The victory over Seattle on the road in the Pacific Northwest, with Zach Wheeler getting the start, minus 126 moneyline favorite. A total of 6.5, even stays under. Wheeler, sensational. 8 innings of shutout work, only allowing 2 base knocks and striking out 9 after he was roughed up by the Yankees earlier this week at home.
And boy, you needed your ace to stand tall after that devastating loss on Saturday night, which they were 5-1, end up collapsing into extra innings. You wanted to see them get off to a good start, which they did with Kyle Schwarber with that solo blast to start the game. But in typical Phillies fashion, they don't do anything and then reappear with more home runs in the 8th inning. They needed that 6-0 win so bad because, they start a series with tonight. Chavez Ravine going up against Glasnow and those Dodgers. Aaron Nola on the mound. They need to pick up some victories in this series. But with Atlanta losing yesterday, that was a big win for the Philadelphia Phillies, just to take that deep breath and say, okay, things are going to be okay. Things are going to be just fine. We'll see if that continues this week against the Dodgers.
Still the best record in the National League for Philadelphia. They have a 6-game advantage over Atlanta in the division. Yesterday, that total of 6.5 stays under in what was a really good starting duel between Zach Wheeler and Logan Gilbert. We'll talk about the series against L.A., of course, later in this show. But 5 home runs yesterday for the Phils. Kyle Schwarber leading off for Philadelphia in the top of the first with that long ball. And then Bryce Harper, Bryson Stott, Alec Boehm, and JT Realmuto all hitting a long ball in the 8th inning. So Philly avoids the sweep, but the Phils have still dropped 6 consecutive series. They snapped a 6-game skid yesterday against Seattle. You see the record since the All-Star break, 15 games, just a 4-11 record. More around Major League Baseball comes your way up next on TEL.
Hopefully they learned their lesson. Hey, this ain't the NBA, bro. You don't have 6 fouls, and they will check you on this stuff. And Brooks has a reputation coming into this. You can tell the refs are watching them, and they were on him all the time.
This was 10, 12 years ago. Canada playing Greece with that type of lead that they had. They probably would have mentally crumbled and lost that game to Greece by 3 or 4 points in the final minute of that ball game.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Try and set the stage for what should be a great year of NFL action.
There's a handful of teams that potentially can compete for a Super Bowl championship.
Confusion and uncertainty this year more than some in the past.
This team looks like it's ready to make a move, but we just don't know if it's bad or good this year.
J.J. McCarthy is eventually going to take over, but it's a no-lose situation for them.
I mean, they suck. They were 7-10.
Only on SportsGrid.
That race for the Cy Young, pretty much as equally compelling and intriguing as the race for the wild card spots in the National League.
And also keep in mind, Skenes doesn't pitch the entire season, so his ERA gets affected much, much more if he has a poor outing than, let's just say, Chris Sale or Zach Wheeler that's been there all season long. This would be a fun one to watch it play out, but the big loser last night were the Phillies and Zach Wheeler.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Their coach has a personality that is New York City. Tough, grinding, defensive, no holds barred. We muck this game up and we make you play it our way. And Tibbs has been rewarded. And he should be rewarded for what he's done with the Knicks.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
A weekend around Major League Baseball. So the Phillies avoid the sweep in Seattle against the Mariners. They do win 6-0. They hit 5 home runs as a team, and Zach Wheeler once again sensational on the bump. But our resident Philadelphia fan, Donnie Rightside, we asked for your assessment here. Since the All-Star break, the Phils are just 4-11. They snapped a 6-game skid against Seattle, or at least a 6-game skid overall, but with the victory over the Mariners yesterday. DRS, they've lost 6 consecutive series, dating back to their final one before the All-Star break against the Oakland Athletics. And if we remember the set right before that one, it was a sweep over the Dodgers, their best competition from the odds perspective and at least in the win-loss column in the standings in the National League. Everything was feeling great in Philadelphia. How do you feel now?
Yeah, baseball's a fickle sport. And also, I did tweet out last week, like the same trajectory point that we're looking at. The Philadelphia Eagles were 10-1, riding high on the season, then absolutely collapsed. And it felt like the Philadelphia Phillies were just going to go down that same path where they're the best team in the baseball. And now they can't even win a game. Now, granted, some of those games they should have won. Baseball is a long season. We get that. But it's interesting to me because typically it's, you know, you have Bryce Harper, who's really hot. Maybe Schwarber won't be. Then Schwarber heats up and Bryce Harper won't be. Alec Boehm, you get the point there throughout that 1 through 9. It felt like every single player, starting pitcher, middle reliever, closer, and also lineup went ice cold at the same time. Now, yesterday, you get the 1-0 lead with Schwarber. Schwarber ends up with 3 hits in that game. Yes, you needed that. But the Phillies were absolutely dormant for about 5 or 6 innings after that because, look, they're facing one of the better pitchers in Major League Baseball that you may not have heard of, Logan Gilbert. But then in that 8th inning, it seems like everything was like, hey, this is what we're used to. Harper home runs, Boehm home runs here. Guys with multiple hits. Like Harper was like through a 1 through 30 slump and finally breaks through with 3 of 4 yesterday, including a home run. They needed that 8th inning more than anything, and also to get Zach Wheeler back on that mound as your ace, dominating environment after a game that was so disastrous on Saturday night, being up to 5-1, and Hoffman gives up 4 runs out of nowhere when he's been one of the better relievers in Major League Baseball. 8 innings pitched, 2 hits, 0 earned run, 9 Ks, 1 walk. Great win for the Philadelphia Phillies because they needed that heading into the Dodgers series. But the total assessment, again, you don't really see this. The whole team going cold at once. You might see with the White Sox, those are the expectations. But the best team in baseball going all cold at once, that was so eerie to watch from a Philly perspective.
And DRS, it's a great point that you bring up because for the Phils on this slide, it's been a bullpen that really hasn't held things down. Is there further concern? Because one of the knocks against the Phils as they got off to a great start early in the opening half was the level of competition that Philadelphia was playing. Their last 3 sets, Minnesota, Cleveland, New York, and Seattle. 4 teams that as of this moment would be American League playoff teams. They start a 3-game series against the Dodgers with a 1.5-game lead for the best spot in the National League in the Ravine today, and then a 4-game set against a Diamondbacks team that can't seem to lose following the All-Star break. DRS, is there any further concern because the Phils are struggling right now against postseason caliber clubs?
No, not necessarily, because your expectations are you can't, which is why every team like, hey, they're out hot. Well, they should win 120 games. Like, it's very hard to win 100 games in Major League Baseball regardless, because you run up against bad play, you get injuries of the like. The Phillies just ran cold at the wrong time. But could you say the wrong time? This is probably the best time for them to run cold, because you know what happens when it's even worse, Ben? You go ice cold in late September and early October, get bounced quickly. So if you are looking for like a sunny side up scenario here for the Philadelphia Phillies, played fantastic throughout most of the season, hit that lull after the All-Star break, but you still have roughly 60 days to get back right again. We'll see if they can just hold on, because they got still a lot of tough teams to play here, Ben, on this West Coast swing once they get back to Philadelphia. They're just trying to hold above water, keep that 5 or so game lead in the NL East, and they should be okay. But you're always looking for that silver lining by saying, at least they didn't go cold at the end of the season. There's plenty of time to turn that around.
Still a 6-game lead in the NL East. Minus 650 is Philadelphia to win the division. Part of that in thanks to Miami. The Marlins winning 7-zip yesterday on the road in Atlanta. The Braves were greater than a $2.50 favorite with Max Fried on the bump. He got lit up. 6 runs scored by the Fish in the 4th. Miami takes the final 2 games of this 4-game series against the Braves to split the series in classic Braves fashion. All 4 games stay under in this weekend set against the Marlins.
Yeah, looking like they were going to put that vice grip on the Philadelphia Phillies, talking about the Braves. Like, hey, look, we're just going to beat bad baseball teams while you're floundering. And before you know it, we'll be back 2 to 3 games. Now all the pressure lands back on the Phillies. Now, the Phillies should have won Saturday night when the Braves had lost, which would have been a huge swing on Saturday and Sunday. But luckily for the Phillies, as you're right, you see that game before it starts with the Braves. Well, that's an easy victory. Now, the Phillies got to go up against in Seattle and try to get out of their own way. That was a big swing yesterday for a monster-favored Braves team to get beat 7-0 and the Phillies to win their game. It just goes to show you the pressure has to be applied by the teams, behind you, which the Braves are. We just don't know how good the Braves are going to be down the stretch, but it just goes to show you can't lose the final 2 games to the Marlins, particularly when you're basically a $3 favorite, as in some outlets here, and you get beat 7-0. That was pretty embarrassing, but that was big for the Phillies. Tough loss for the Braves there.
Yesterday, a very interesting day in NL East competition and in Cy Young competition in the National League. Skenes Day number 14 in the history of Major League Baseball. That's XIV. It was the Pirates playing host to the Diamondbacks. Pittsburgh with Skenes on the bump, a minus 166 moneyline favorite. Now, here's the stat line for the young Paul Skenes. 5 1/3, 2 earned runs given up, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts. Not his best or quality outing by any means, but when he left the game, Pittsburgh had a 3-2 lead. It was Jock Peterson for Arizona, a 3-run bomb in the 7th. That was the difference. As the Diamondbacks come back, then hold on, 6-5 the victory over Pittsburgh. Arizona, Donnie, has now won 9 of its last 11 games.
Yeah, we were waiting on this because we knew the talent was there for the Diamondbacks. We just hadn't put it together. Maybe it was just running into a championship series last year, a World Series, I should say, and having a little bit of the hangover. But they look every bit as that team that was really good down the stretch last year and maybe can turn some heads in the month of August and September. But that was a tough loss for the Pirates, as you said. Sloppy started as Skenes. We still won that game, but that bullpen caved in. Pirates now only 1 game above 500. Keep them in the playoff race. You got to win games like that.
First 5 money line when Paul Skenes is on the bump. More around the NL Cy Young race and the weekend in MLB next.
Hopefully they learned their lesson. Hey, this ain't the NBA, bro. You don't have 6 fouls, and they will check you on this stuff. And Brooks has a reputation coming into this. You can tell the refs are watching them, and they were on him all the time.
This was 10, 12 years ago. Canada playing Greece with that type of lead that they had. They probably would have mentally crumbled and lost that game to Greece by 3 or 4 points in the final minute of that ball game.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Try and set the stage for what should be a great year of NFL action.
There's a handful of teams that potentially can compete for a Super Bowl championship.
Confusion and uncertainty this year more than some in the past.
This team looks like it's ready to make a move, but we just don't know if it's bad or good this year.
J.J. McCarthy is eventually going to take over, but it's a no-lose situation for them.
I mean, they suck. They were 7-10.
Only on SportsGrid.
That race for the Cy Young, pretty much as equally compelling and intriguing as the race for the wild card spots in the National League.
And also keep in mind, Skenes doesn't pitch the entire season, so his ERA gets affected much, much more if he has a poor outing than, let's just say, Chris Sale or Zach Wheeler that's been there all season long. This would be a fun one to watch it play out, but the big loser last night were the Phillies and Zach Wheeler.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Their coach has a personality that is New York City. Tough, grinding, defensive, no holds barred. We muck this game up and we make you play it our way. And Tibbs has been rewarded. And he should be rewarded for what he's done with the Knicks.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
So a little bit more from yesterday in Pittsburgh. Skenes Day number 14 in the history of Major League Baseball. Again, that's XIV by our tracker here on the early line. The Diamondbacks stay red hot. The reigning National League pennant winners have now won 9 of their last 11 games, 11-4 since the All-Star break. Paul Skenes did not record the loss, but its Pittsburgh team did. Jock Peterson, the reason why, a 3-run home run for Arizona to come back in the 7th inning. So the D-backs now hold a 1.5 lead over the New York Mets for the 3rd and final National League wild card spot. The San Diego Padres also red hot out of the National League West in the 2nd spot, and the Braves still in front ever so slightly for that top spot in the National League wild card race. So that's the postseason perspective. Now the individual races around Major League Baseball. NL Cy Young race on full display yesterday. Skenes okay for the Buccos at home. Zach Wheeler sensational on the road for Philadelphia in Seattle. Chris Sale still the favorite at plus 110. Paul Skenes back by less than $1 at plus 210, but the big move was Zach Wheeler plus 230. He was plus 370 earlier in the week after a not-so-good outing against the New York Yankees during the midweek slate.
What have you done for me lately? It's going to be fun to watch as it plays out. It's next man up. As long as you continue to hold serve, which Zach Wheeler did, needed that after that terrible last effort that he had. That was a big win for the Philadelphia Phillies in Seattle, and he was the catalyst behind it, going 8 innings of shutout baseball. And again, Skenes wasn't bad. You're looking at Skenes down the stretch. I always keep on bringing this up. It was like the double-doubles here for Angel Reese in the WNBA. He's got to stay just about perfect. We don't need 8 innings pitched, Ben, 13 strikeouts every game to keep him in it. If you're telling me he's going to give you quality start after quality start after quality start with the occasional 7 innings pitched, 13 strikeouts, no hits, or no runs, he's going to get that thrown into the equation. I'm interested to see what Sale does down the stretch because he has been wonderful from start to finish so far. But these final 60 days or so, I'm interested to see. Because it's not as if it's like, hey, Chris Sale's young, 26. He's got a lot of innings left in that arm. Does he fade a little bit down the stretch? And I loved when I saw, post All-Star break, Zach Wheeler go out and dominate before that Yankees game. I'm like, that's probably my guy. But you saw that big move yesterday. If Zach Wheeler is healthy down the stretch, you can expect greatness in just about every start he has for a team that's going to be vying for the top overall seed in Major League Baseball. So I didn't think you wanted to kick him out after that Yankees game, but it really is up to Sale and Skenes just to hold serve and not get blown away at that point, which I don't think they will, which makes it fascinating. Usually it's 1 or 2 people at the top. We got 3 guys, all legitimate chances that you can say right now and say, you know what, this guy deserves the Cy Young Award. This is going to be so much fun to watch as long as Pittsburgh hangs around and Skenes gets the pitch. Ben, we might come down to the last day of September and the final start from one of these guys that's going to decide the entire season-long award. Great stuff.
A 3-arm race in the National League Cy Young market, no doubt about it. And Donnie, oftentimes, even when the individual hardware is on the line, we correlate it to team success. But you can excel as an individual, as a starting pitcher, and your team still be bad. So it's not necessarily like the writers and the voters are like, ooh, Philadelphia was in the number 1 spot. That's why I gave Zach Wheeler the edge, at least based on that narrative. But it's more so for Zach Wheeler, knowing his starts are more significant for the Phils to earn the number 1 seed or hold on to the divisional race. Same for Chris Sale, with Atlanta still in the National League wildcard race. The reason I bring it up, Pittsburgh was around NL wildcard contention following the All-Star break. Now we're starting to see some gaps. It's Atlanta and San Diego at the top. They have a half-game advantage over Arizona, who has a 1.5 lead for the 3rd and final spot over the New York Mets. The Cardinals now back by 3 games after losing 3 of 4 against Chicago this weekend. The Pittsburgh Pirates just a game above 500, now 3.5 games out of a wild card spot. Things to pay attention to as we look back on the weekend. The White Sox got swept by the Twins. No surprise. but the White Sox have now lost 20 consecutive games. It is the longest losing streak in Major League Baseball since the Orioles back in 1988 when they lost their first 21 games in a row to start off the season. It is the only time in the 2000s, Donnie, since the turn of the century and the millennium, a team in Major League Baseball has lost 20 games or more in a row.
It's almost impossible because it's hard. Even the best team in baseball playing the worst team in baseball in a 3-game set. The expectations aren't even to sweep. It's like, hey, let's just win this series 2-1 and get out of here, which shows you how crazy it is where they can't pick up a victory. But by the way, keep your eyes focused on that NL West. The Giants, only 4.5 games back in the wild card race. Those teams are going to jockey for position the rest of the way. That's a tough division.
It is going to be a very difficult division. Hour 2 is up next.